Have you ever looked at a pill in your hand and wondered how it actually works? I mean, how we get from a discovery in a lab to something that's safe and effective? Well, it's not just about chemistry. A huge part of the answer, maybe the most surprising part, is math. Today, we're going deep and uncovering the hidden mathematical engine that powers every single medicine we rely on.
Right, so how on earth does something you probably last saw in a dusty old textbook connect to your personal health and safety? That's the big puzzle we're going to solve today. We're going to follow a single dose of medicine on its wild journey through the body, and we're going to see it all through the eyes of mathematics. So our first stop is the most basic question of all.
You see, our journey kicks off with a really simple but absolutely critical problem. Once you take a medicine, how fast does it get to work? And this isn't just about feeling better faster. It's a huge safety issue. If a drug is too fast, it can be toxic. Too slow, it might be totally useless. To get that Goldilocks, just right balance, scientists need a super precise way to measure its speed.
And to measure that speed, they pull out a serious tool from the mathematician's toolkit, differential calculus. Now, I know, it sounds complicated, but the idea behind it is actually really simple. Just think of it like a mathematical speedometer. But instead of clocking how fast a car is going, it measures how quickly the amount of a drug is changing inside your body, from one moment to the very next.
And this is really the core idea here. It's the foundation of a whole field called pharmacokinetics, which is, just a fancy way of saying how drugs move through the body. And as the source material points out, the key is to treat the drug's concentration not as a fixed thing, but as a quantity that is constantly changing over time.
So this is the language scientists use to actually talk about that speed, dx/dt. Don't let it scare you, it's just shorthand. The dx part is a tiny change in the amount of the drug, and dt is a tiny slice of time. You put them together and bingo, you get the drug's precise speed at any given instant. It's the exact reading on our mathematical speedometer.
Okay, so now that we can measure the drug's speed from moment to moment, what happens if we map out its entire journey? Well, let's see what that actually looks like when we plot it all out on a graph. And what we get is a picture that looks a lot like this. It's called the plasma concentration curve. And you can think of this graph as a kind of visual diary of the drug's life inside your body. You can literally see how the concentration climbs after you take it, it hits a peak, and then it slowly falls as your body gets to work processing and getting rid of it. But this curve is so much more than just a pretty shape. I want you to think of it like a roller coaster ride. Every single twist, that big peak, and every drop on the way down tells scientists something incredibly important about how that medicine is behaving and, more importantly, how it's affecting you.
Now, let's zoom in on two of the most important landmarks on this ride. Cmax, that's the very top of the roller coaster, the absolute highest concentration the drug reaches. And Tmax, that's how long it takes to get to that peak. Together, these two tell us so much. A painkiller needs a fast Tmax to give you quick relief, but its Cmax can't be so high that it becomes dangerous. Getting these two values right is absolutely critical.
Okay, so we've got the drug's speed, and we know when it peaks. But what about its total effect over its entire lifetime? We need to know the full story of your body's exposure to the drug, not just a snapshot. And for that, we need to pull another tool out of the math box.
And that tool is integral calculus. So, if our speedometer, differential calculus, was all about breaking the journey down into tiny little moments, well, integral calculus does the exact opposite. It adds all of those individual moments of exposure back together to give us the big picture, the total cumulative effect of that drug over its entire journey.
So by adding up everything under that roller coaster curve, we get one single, incredibly powerful number. It's called the area under the curve, or AUC. And what this number represents is the total cumulative exposure your body had to that medicine. It is the ultimate measure of the drug's total impact, and it's essential for making sure different brands of a drug are truly the same.
So how do scientists actually calculate this weirdly shaped area? Well, they use this really clever trick called the trapezoidal rule. Instead of trying to measure that whole complex curve at once, they just slice it up into a bunch of simple little shapes, trapezoids. Then they calculate the area of each little slice, and then they just add them all up. It's such an elegant way to turn a complex problem into simple addition.
And the result of all that work is a hard, concrete number like this one, which is taken right from our source material, 48.04. Now, this isn't just some abstract value on a page. This is a critical piece of data. It tells drug developers exactly how much exposure a certain dose gives, and that lets them compare different drugs or different dosages with incredible precision.
So far, we've been looking at these really nice, clean, perfect curves. But let's be real, real-world data is never that perfect. It's messy, it's all over the place. So how do scientists find the true pattern, the real story that's hidden inside a bunch of scattered data points?
And this right here is the challenge they face. On the left, that's what real data from a study can look like, just a scatter of points, not some perfect line. And on the right, you see the problem that creates. I mean, you could draw a nearly infinite number of different curves to connect those dots. So how do you know which line is the one that tells the true story? Which one can you actually trust to make predictions about how the drug's going to behave?
Well, the answer comes from this really elegant guiding principle in science known as the law of parsimony. You've probably heard it called something else, Occam's razor. The idea is simple. When you're faced with a bunch of different explanations, the simplest one is usually the right one. Keep it simple.
And the mathematical tool that lets scientists keep it simple is called linear regression. It's a method that looks at all those messy data points and mathematically figures out the one single straight line that best cuts through all that noise to reveal the real trend underneath. It doesn't try to hit every point perfectly. Instead, it finds the most probable relationship.
And what's amazing is we can even measure how good that best fit line is. This little number, the R-squared value, tells us how much of the data's behavior our line can explain. A value of 0.992, like in this example, means our simple line accounts for over 99% of what's going on. Wow. That's not a guess. That is a seriously powerful prediction.
So, let's pull all of this together. How do these different mathematical pieces, the speed, the curve, the total area, and the trend line, all combine to make the medicine you take safer and more effective?
So here it is, our complete toolkit. We use differential calculus to measure the drug's speed. We use graphing to visualize the entire journey. We used integral calculus to calculate the total impact, that AUC. And we use linear regression to find the true pattern and predict its behavior. Each one of these tools gives us a vital piece of the puzzle.
And this is the punchline. This is why it all matters. By combining all of these mathematical tools, scientists build what are called pharmacokinetic models. And these are not just some academic exercise. These models are the literal blueprints they use to figure out the right dose to be given at the right time to produce exactly the right effect for you.
So at the end of the day, the takeaway is this. We've gone on a journey from what seems like really abstract math, derivatives and integrals, directly to the principles that make sure the medicine in your cabinet is both safe and effective. It's the hidden but absolutely essential architecture of modern medicine.
But this isn't the end of the story. The math is always getting better, always evolving. So our final thought for you is this. We've just seen what calculus and statistics can do. So what happens next? When we start adding the incredible power of artificial intelligence and machine learning into this equation, what new levels of personalization, safety, and effectiveness are we about to unlock?